Hey guys, and welcome to Just Us Three, episode 10. In today's episode, we'll be focusing on friendships. How are you guys?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. I've just said to you two, I've just run back from a walk, so I'm literally like bright red and it's raining here, so I'm drenched from the rain. But yeah.
About to say it's absolutely pouring down here, so I can only imagine what it's like because we're all back up north now. So
I haven't gone anywhere. Still in the north as always.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So,
it's nice to be back, definitely.
Yeah, it's lovely being back in Sheffield. So today, as Olivia mentioned, we're going to be discussing friendships because who doesn't love talking about friendship? It's such a nice, positive subject. So yeah, why don't we talk a bit about how we all met and reminisce about that?
If you haven't all gathered by now, we're all second year journalism students at the University of Sheffield, and we all met during Freshers Week, which was a year and a half ago now. Gosh, that makes me feel extremely old.
My god.
It feels like yesterday. It feels like it could have been yesterday. But yeah, I have quite vivid memories of meeting Hannah, but Olivia, I feel like it's such a funny story that when I first saw you in passing when I was with Hannah, I was like, was that Olivia Ann Schofield? Because of course on all your socials you called Olivia Ann Schofield, so I felt the need to put your middle name in there.
Yeah, I need to update my social media. I've still got all my middle name in, but I don't know why I did that actually, but hey ho.
Makes you stand out from all the other Olivias.
Yeah, that's probably why I did it, because I had a little this is a little side note, but I had a little Instagram clear out the other day, and I was looking at all this stuff because we were on about social media in one of the episodes, and I was like, oh my god, I really need to update it. But yeah, Katie, going like off tangent, going back to what we were on about. Yeah, I remember seeing you in a lecture. I remember because, right, not to sound awful here, but you're a redhead, so I could just see who I could see you, and I was like, there's Katie.
Difficult to miss me, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I definitely remember meeting you, Hannah.
Oh gosh, we met. So I think on the journalism group chat that is still going. It was created in the summer before uni, and we met at a social that had been organised by like some people in the group chat, and I just remember we instantly bonded because I think we both went to the toilet together and we just didn't stop talking like the whole time. And yeah, that was I remembered that really vividly because I think I did what Katie did and I said, oh my gosh, you're Olivia Ann Schofield. And I think we saw each other in a lecture before that, didn't we, as well? I remember meeting you, Katie. I think it was at the sports centre in Sheffield, and I think it was only like halfway through Freshers Week, and you were in the queue behind, I think, with someone who I'm living with now. I'm pretty sure that was how we met.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I was with that person as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do remember that quite vividly, and I also vividly remember seeing you at the little coffee and cake. What was it? Like a meet and greet, maybe, or like little social thing.
Yeah.
I think you were with Liv, and I was chilling with Henry, obviously another member of our friendship group. And it's just so weird how in that week you form friendships that last all the way through uni without even realizing.
Yeah, no, and it's funny, isn't it, how you kind of like bond with people and then remain friends with them like the whole time.
Yeah, I think uni is very different to secondary school in the fact that when I made friends at the start of uni, I knew there'd be people who I remained friends with, whereas when you go into secondary school, it's very difficult to remain friends with the same people for 5 years or 7 if you stay on at sixth form with them. It's very unlikely that it will stay the same throughout the whole time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's only natural, isn't it? Because as you grow older, things just naturally change and people change. But it's nice when you do have the same friends though, and I think it's lovely that especially like us three, we bonded quite early on.
Yeah.
And I don't think that will ever go away, really.
I think what it also says is that you shouldn't rely on your first impressions of people. Do you know what I mean? Like when I met you guys, obviously, like on Facebook, it's a different thing, but like in person, you're all lovely, and I think it's nice to see that. So I think if you're ever meeting people and you see people on their Facebook page, they are different to what they are in real life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, the first impressions that my house and I had of each other were completely wrong. So yeah, it's very interesting to know how your social media portrays you as a person to new people.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting way of being, but yeah, nice time to reminisce on.
Yeah, this is a good thing as well, that when you stay friends with people for a long period of time, like we've only been friends for a year and a half, although it feels like so much longer, but in that we've made so many memories in that short period of time, and we sit and reminisce about it all the time. Any moment we'd be like, oh, do you remember when that happened, or you remember when we first met? And it's just so nice to reminisce already.
Well, I think when you have the right people around you, you know, it does feel like home away from home, because, you know, like we've all moved, like the three of us have moved away from home. And when you think about it, you do move out at quite a young age when you think about your life. And I think having the right people around and making really lovely friends definitely helps with being away from like your family. I think that's a lovely thing.
Yeah, I think initially for me at uni, I actually struggled when I was first there. I think I've spoke about this before, maybe I can't remember if I spoke to you about it, Hannah, but I kind of struggled first when I was at uni, like settling into uni. But kind of what helped me with uni and everything was just meeting people that kind of run a similar wavelength, and that was really nice to have that kind of support initially going into it that made me like I can't because I don't live very far from Sheffield. Obviously I kept like going home and stuff, and having friends at uni that are there, like, you know, like similar wavelengths and everything, like I've just said, it definitely helped. Does that, I don't know if that makes sense, like like homesickness, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like one of my biggest apprehensions before coming to uni was whether people would be on the same wavelength, because at secondary school, everyone's from the same area and everyone tends to be quite like-minded based on where you're from. But then you're thrown into this new experience with people from all over the country, and it's all about finding your people in such a short period of time, that it was a big worry that whether people would think similarly about the same things that I thought about. Really, that was a big worry for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's natural though, isn't it? When you go into any new environment, I suppose you do think like, gosh, am I going to bond with these people? Like, am I going to meet people like myself? But I think when that happens naturally, you don't even necessarily think about it, do you? It just one day you think, oh, actually, you know, I'm really close to these people and it's lovely.
Yeah.
I think it's best to not force things, really.
Yeah, definitely. There's no point like forcing I think things just happen. I don't know about like, I feel like we all just kind of came together slowly, because I wouldn't say we're all together to begin with, and then kind of, I'd say during the pandemic and stuff, we were like FaceTiming and speaking with each other pretty much like every other week or something like that. And I think that definitely helped our friendships, especially during a difficult time, keep going.
Yeah, I totally agree that our friendship strengthened from that first lockdown in March. I think that was the turning point, because when we were at uni before that, we were part of a bigger group that were kind of segregated into a lot of smaller groups. And I think lockdown kind of showed us who were like the main people who were there for us, really, I think personally. Another point that we've got to discuss is how we've managed to maintain friendships during a pandemic. I think it'll be interesting to discuss, because obviously we've got our friendship group at uni, but we also have friends from our hometowns as well. So I'll be interested to know how you've maintained those friendships.
I think, oh, sorry.
I know, you go, Han.
Oh, no.
I think.
No, I was just going to say, I think if anything, it's actually sort of maybe a bit close to people that I hadn't seen for a while. I mean, there are a few people from back home who I'd regularly see, or we do sort of like, I think every month in lockdown we did like an evening where we had a quiz, or we'd have some drinks, or stuff like that. But yeah, if anything, it's actually, I think, made me closer to people who are like from primary school or from high school who I not fully lost touch with, but things change, people get jobs, people work full time, and you've moved to uni, and I think that's just a natural way of life. But yeah, I think with the lockdown, because everyone was so isolated, and it was just nice to speak to people. It's been lovely to sort of reconnect with people from high school, college, college. And yeah, I'd just say it's been really interesting to see that happen, and I've come closer to people who I was close to a long time ago. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if that's happened with you.
The main reason for that is because everyone's got such a greater appreciation for things now, because we all know how quickly things can slip through our fingers and how quickly things can change, that we need to keep in touch with people and make sure people are doing all right, because we really have no idea what's going on in their lives most of the time. Because like you said, we're in such different stages of our lives now, from people that we spent so much time with at home. Like, we go from seeing friends at home every day to then going off to uni. Some people have jobs. It's just so different now, and sometimes it can be hard to adjust to that switch. But I think the pandemic kind of helped ground us all and show us how important it is to keep in contact with the people that you care about.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important, like, it's so easily not to like speak to people and lose contact with people. I think it's, not messaging and whatever, but for me, I've just been making sure like everyone I'm messaging is okay. Like, I think right now it's such a hard time always saying to people, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Is everything all right? Because everyone's going through such different things, whether it's with their mental health, whether it's with whatever during the pandemic. I think it's so important to just stay in contact and keep them bonds as close as you can, really, because like you said, Katie, it's, things, you have a great appreciation, especially right now, with loss and everything like that, yeah, it's such an important thing to keep your friends close, really.
I don't think there's much excuse for not keeping in touch with friends, because it literally takes 30 seconds to type a message saying, hey, how are you? Thought I'd reach out and see how you were. And even if they don't reply straight away because they've got a lot of things going on, when they do eventually see it, they'll appreciate it so much. And even it typically is, I know personally, like, I appreciate it so much when, obviously, like, my really close friends, like you guys, among many others, I appreciate it when you reach out. But say if someone from my secondary school was to reach out and ask me how I was, that would take me aback so much. And I think I'd appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I think it's nice when people just reach out of the blue. I think it's lovely.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to I've had a couple of friends message me from high school and everything, and it's nice just to hear from them because it's been so long. So yeah, that it's definitely a nice feeling to have that.
Definitely. How did you two find the switch of keeping in contact with friends from home after you moved to uni initially? So forget COVID, in those first few months, like, how did you keep in contact with them at that point? Was it the same, where it was like you just reached out to them every now and then?
Well, truthfully, for me at high school, because obviously I went to high school and college, I kind of didn't keep a lot of the friends I had at school. So for me, like, I knew a couple of girls and I kind of speak to them. I don't know, for me it was a bit different. Like, I had a couple of close friends that I kept, if that makes sense. So I kind of was always in contact with them. So it wasn't a massive switch for me, I'd say. What about you, Ham?
What it was, and I noticed this with friends from back home now, is that like the ones that I'm actually closest to, I'll go, like, crazily, I'll go 2 or 3 days without speaking to, and they'll do the same. I find it's a bit different with uni friends, but yeah, with friends from back home, I think, like I said before, everyone has different things going on. People go to different unis, they're on courses that are different, and life's just mad at the minute. But yeah, those, like, my closest friends from back home, I actually speak to the least. But that if they ever need you, or if you ever need them, like, it's fine, and they'll be there. And I don't know. I've just found that's happened really since high school. What about you, Katie? What have you noticed?
Well, I'm in a very similar situation to Liv, in the fact that I had a very small friendship group back at home. I was part of a little trio, and we were so close. But if you'd have seen the type of people who were at my secondary school in sixth form, they weren't the type of people that you'd like to have as friends, and it was a very toxic environment, which is why I was content in having a very small friendship group. And if anything, it's made it more manageable post like secondary school to keep in contact with them, because obviously there's only 2 of them. And I had friends in other friendship groups, but never as close as what me, Billy and Jacob were. But I'd still be in contact. Well, I am still in contact with the others that were kind of dotted around in other friendship groups. But yeah, I definitely think it has been manageable to keep in contact with everyone just as much as each other, because as I said, it's quite a small group. But yeah, I do think it's so important just to drop people a message every now and then. And even if it's like, I wouldn't even say I speak to them on a weekly basis, but I don't think that makes the friendship any less strong. It's just because we're all in such different stages in our lives. Like if you were to look at the friendship group I had at home, we're 3 completely different people in 3 completely different situations now in life. So sometimes it can be quite difficult to get caught up in what you're doing and forget that you need to reach out. But when we do, it's like we haven't been apart kind of thing.
I think they're the best kind of friendships, to be honest. And here's an interesting point, or an interesting question that I'd like to find out or know about you guys. So talking about friendships from the past or people we knew in school and college, you know, I think it's natural and it happens to everyone that not every friendship works out quite how we'd want it to. And what do you think these taught you? And yeah, how like moving forward from that, has it made you realize what you don't like in a friendship?
Okay, I can answer this.
Take it away.
I've had like a difficult time with friends in the past, and I know what I want in a friendship now, that I don't like it when people are quite bitchy, because it just reflects on you. I don't know if you've ever found that, but the people that you're around, if they're quite bitchy, it can make you sometimes, like I've had it from personal experience, that it made me as a defense be quite bitchy and not nice, and that was not me at all. Like, obviously you girls know me now that I'm the complete opposite to that, but because of the people I was around, it was influencing me so much, obviously being a lot younger than I am now, and obviously I've had a lot of self-growth since then. But yeah, it's kind of, the friendships that I've had is kind of moving away from the ones that, you know, put me down, or, you know, for instance, like at school, I was in a group of girls that were really, really clever, and I necessarily wasn't the smartest, and having them put you down, and yeah, having things like that. So I realized I just want friends that kind of put me up and aren't put me down or say nasty things about each other behind each other's back. Yeah, that's kind of friendships I want. So that's a little point from me.
For me, a past friendship from a very long time ago, it's kind of difficult to explain, but the friendship group that I'm in now, we had another person, and she kind of left our friendship group because she wanted a better sort of social status, if that's what we want to call it, in schools. I know that every school has like a popular group of bitchy girls, like you've said, Liv. They're kind of the people that you want to avoid, and she was more concerned about how she was perceived by other people and appearing a certain way than the friendship that she had with us. And she made that very clear, which was absolutely fine, because like they say, the trash takes itself out. So she removed herself from the group, which saved us from doing it. So yeah, it's just kind of taught me that I shouldn't be concerned with people who only care about how they're perceived by others and their social status in schools or groups, or how they're perceived on social media.
Yeah, I had a similar situation, that just people being bothered about Instagram and numbers and just like a friendship like that. And you know, when you just kind of, you have it, I don't know if you had this, Katie, but you have a self-realization of, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who am I hanging out with? This is not me. And when I had that kind of like, is it where the penny dropped? You know, I was like, great, okay, this is who I am, and I'm not doing this anymore. And oh my God, let me tell you, that's the best feeling. And there are toxic friendships out there, and you know, I'm not saying the person's a toxic person. I think it's the friendship. Does that make I don't know if that makes sense, that the person necessarily doesn't need to be a bad person. It's just kind of the relationship between you hasn't worked and you just haven't connected in that other level that you need to. I don't know if that makes any sense.
They have to be friends with somebody who's like-minded, so other people who care about social status or other people who are extremely bitchy, because maybe like if you were that kind of person, the friendship would have worked, but because you're not like that, then you came to that realization yourself and you took yourself out of that situation. For me personally, it didn't have to get to that point. There wasn't a moment where the penny dropped because she removed herself from the friendship before we even had the chance to cut her off. So she kind of did the hard work for us, really. It was good for us. We weren't complaining about it at all. How about you, Hannah? What have your experiences been with friendships?
It's a really tough one, because I think the only piece of advice I'd really have, and it does sound a bit sort of cliche, but I'd just say listen to your mum. Like
Yes.
honestly, the majority of the time, it's just like, I'd have friends over or whoever it was, they come over, and you can just tell straight away, how they are around your mum. And I always thought if it was a bit, I don't know, if they weren't the warmest towards like my family or whatever else, I just instantly thought, nah, it's not. I think it's a really tough one, but I'd just say sort of surround yourself with people who you want to be around, and friendship isn't a chore. So it shouldn't feel like a chore meeting up or going for a coffee or whatever it is. And I think the people who want to be friends with you will make time for you. And I know we're all mad busy and life's mad at the minute. But in terms of past experiences, I mean, yeah, I think everyone has friends gone like in the past where you think now, like, gosh, wow, like we're so different. But I think it's important to go through, because I think it teaches you so many valuable things about friends in the future and, moving forward. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Like I think if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be who I am like today. I think
Yeah,
every person comes into your life for a reason.
yeah, definitely, 100%. And I think it makes you stronger when you surround yourself with people who you really want to surround yourself with, and you look around and think, actually, like this is really nice, rather than, I think there's been many times or whatever in high school, in primary school, when you just have nothing in common with people. But I think, and there's a really interesting quote that I mean, I didn't know my dad's dad, but I think he said something. He always says something like, "Count your friends on one hand," sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's quite an interesting quote, but yeah, I think it's a valuable one.
Something I wanted to briefly touch on before we move on, that you briefly mentioned previously, Hannah, was about reciprocating friendships. And for me personally, I think that's such an important factor in maintaining friendships, because if I'm always the person that's reaching out, asking how they are, arranging to meet up, arranging like Zoom calls at the moment, because obviously we can't meet up, but if it always seems one-sided, there will come a point when you just cut it off, and I think it's really like not worth it anymore. And it does take a lot for me to be like, enough is enough, but it has reached that point where I just think, why should I bother anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a really powerful way of being. You know what I mean? I think it's good that you're able to kind of not like cut yourself off, but you're able to realize what's good for you and what's not. And like we mentioned previously about, who you follow on Instagram and stuff and friends and it goes back round to that. You've got to attract into your life positive people in order to have like positive outcomes. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, definitely important to be like
It's
that.
all about knowing your self-worth as well. It's very similar to past relationships, where what you've experienced then shapes the person that you are, and you know what you do and don't like, and that then makes you more confident in yourself and your ability to cut people off, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just self-growth really, isn't it? Like I think at high school and college or primary or whatever, you're putting like a box almost, like you're told that you have to get on with these people, and it doesn't necessarily happen like that. There's not going to be someone that you might gel with, or there may only be one person you gel with, and that's absolutely fine. Life is for going through and meeting people and meeting new people, and obviously we can't do that right now, but yeah, I think if anyone is younger and is at high school and feels a bit like trapped in a box with friends and stuff, you meet your friends and you do meet people eventually. It just takes time, I would say. Sorry if I went on a tangent. I always seem to go on a tangent when we have these conversations.
Another interesting question, which leads on quite nicely from this, is letting go of friendships that don't work out. So what do you think are the best ways to let go of those dead friendships?
I mean, again, it's such a tough one because every circumstance is completely different, and you don't know what's led the person to want to end a friendship. Like, you don't know what's gone on. But I'd just say, I don't know, it's a really tough one. I mean, in as many situations as you can, I'd say try and not hold a grudge or keep things civil. But of course, that's very unrealistic, where most of the time friendships don't end very well. But yeah, I don't really know. What do you guys think about it?
I think in the past, when I reflect on like if I've needed to end a friendship for whatever reason, I wish I'd handled it a bit differently. Like, I think now I'd like to speak to the person, if that makes sense. Like, I'd like to say, look, or like send them a message or whatever, you know what I mean? And not just end the friendship like that. Like, I think it's happened previously. I think I'd want to speak to the person and say, look, right now I need to go on my own path and so do you. And right now I just think that means we're not speaking as much or whatever. I think there are ways of doing it, but I think it's probably like, as daft as it sounds, it's like ending relationships, isn't it? That you try to do it as civil as possible, because if you don't, it just isn't great. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I was
yeah.
going to say, the end of a friendship is very similar to the end of a relationship, and sometimes it can actually be more difficult because you spend so much of your life with these people. And I know from one past friendship that didn't work out, I'd been friends with them since I was a baby and since we were born, and we just grew apart and we were very different people. And sometimes you kind of have to mourn the loss of that friendship more so than you do like your romantic relationships in life. So I think the most important thing is to give yourself time, and it can be very difficult. And just because it's a friendship doesn't mean you can't be as upset as you would be about a relationship, for example, or the loss of someone else in your life.
Yeah, definitely. I think a song that I always think of is Phineas, I Lost a Friend. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it now and then you'll see what I mean. But he basically talks about like losing a friend and how tragic it is, really, how awfully you can feel. And yeah, it is, like you say, Katie, it is like mourning, a friendship, a relationship. So yeah, definitely. I think sometimes you can feel guilty as well, like you did something wrong in the friendship for it to go, for the friendship not to work. So I'm getting mixed up with relationship and friendship today. For it to not work together. And yeah, I think you've just not got to feel guilty, realize that you're both on different paths in life, really.
What are your thoughts on making friends over the internet? I'm quite curious to know what you both think about this.
I see, this is the point that I put on the little plan that we made for this episode, because when I was younger, like when you first get Instagram and things, and obviously as safely as possible, you do sort of follow people that possibly you don't know, but obviously like I did it within reason and I knew that I was being safe and these people were real. And sometimes we'd comment on like each other's photos, like other young girls and stuff, and that would be the start of a friendship. And I loved that because even at such a young age, well, I say young age, I was probably like 15, but yeah, it wasn't that young really, but it's girls lifting other girls up. And I think it's very easy to make friends on social media by simply leaving a comment on their post, because it probably means so much more to someone when a complete stranger comments on their post than their friends, because obviously you always comment on your friends' posts, otherwise obviously I'd be a bit concerned if you two didn't comment on my post, I'm not gonna lie.
It just comes as second nature now, Katie.
Yeah, exactly. So whereas you just don't really expect it from people who you don't know as well, which is probably why it touches you a bit more, and you think, oh, like, that's really nice, they didn't have to do that, and that can often be the start of a really nice friendship.
Personally, I've never had I've never had any internet friends, but saying that, I think I've met like a lot of on our course, I've met a lot of third years, I suppose, through like the internet. So you could say that is, but yeah, I don't mind. Like if someone like DM'd me and said, "Oh, like hi, how are you?" and we started a conversation, that'd be great. Like I'd love it. I'd like to get to know more people, obviously, but I haven't got a lot of experience, so I can't really comment on it really. What about you, Han?
Well, when I was, I'm trying to think how old I'd have been, 14. I think it's no secret that I was a huge directioner and still am. And basically, I had a Twitter account that was dedicated to One Direction. And God, I sound so sad, but I literally have no regrets. It was like the best few years of my life. And yeah, it was, you know, I met so many people on there. And like, I mean, you have got to be safe on the internet, but I mean, I was literally talking to people my age, like lots of girls who were just sort of mad about One Direction. And I think this girl replied to my tweet. I know she won't mind me saying her name, Charlie, and she's from Wales. And we've literally kept in touch since. So, you know, we still follow each other on Instagram, we still follow each other on Twitter. And it's just so lovely to see like what she's doing, because we've literally known each other since we were like 13 or 14. And we even met because I went with a friend and she went with a friend to see the 1975, I think. And we all went together in London, and it was so lovely because, I mean, I wouldn't go, I mean, you know what they say about stranger danger. I mean, we did know each other for a long time before, but we both went with a friend, and it was so nice. And to be fair, I mean, there are a few other like girls who I met on that account who I still like, I still follow. But yeah, it was so lovely, and it's nice to be friends with someone who, like, you're not from the same area. You get to know about each other, and there's no sort of prejudice there. But obviously, like with that, you do have to be safe. But no, it's been very nice getting to know her, and we're really good friends. And so yeah, I think it can work out well, because you know it's so easy to access the internet and social media these days.
Yeah, that's such a nice story. It's really
Yeah,
lovely.
Oh, sorry, I got a bit carried away there, but no, just reminiscing myself.
I had quite a, well, it wasn't really similar, but in Northampton's a very small place. That's my hometown, and kind of everyone knows everyone. And I knew a couple of girls from another school over social media, and we'd comment on each other's posts, and I'd seen them, bumped into them a few times in the town centre, and like I was friends with them online. And then it just so happened that a couple of years later they moved to my sixth form from their secondary school, and then they became part of our friendship group, which was so nice because the friendship was already so strong because I knew them on social media. And yeah, it was really nice to have them in our friendship group when they moved. An interesting point for us to touch on next is, do you think friendship groups of 3 work? Because people often say that 3's a crowd.
I don't think it matters what number there is. You know what I mean? I think as long as you're all good friends and you look after it. I know what you mean, because like people say like, oh yeah, if there's only 2 of you, it's fine. But then if there's a third one, well, but yeah, no, I don't find it with you two. Like you could literally argue and say our podcast is like that, but I don't find that at all. So yeah.
That's why I thought it'd be interesting to bring up, because although our friendship group isn't just the 3 of us, our podcast is, but I never feel like there's 2 people that are closer than the other one, really. I've never found that.
Yeah, and Yeah, I agree with everything you both said. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think Just Us Two quite has the same ring to it. And I don't think that would work. I think it's lovely, you know, having us all on, and I think we all bounce off each other really well. And I know I'm talking like about the podcast here, but I think also like if we just catch up casually, you know, it's so nice to have like more. I always think more the merrier personally.
Yeah.
So I just think there should never ever be a sort of a given limit on anything. I think it's lovely to know as many people as possible. And linking it back to what I said earlier, it's lovely away from, you know, when you're away from like your family, and it's lovely to have that sort of second family out over here. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't too cringy.
No, it's cute. I think what's nice is like we have different interests. We have like obviously we all study journalism, but like we all have different things that we're doing, and we've got different experiences. And yeah, I think if it was just like two people, it wouldn't have the same, you said, the same ring. As soon as you said just the three of us, I got just the two of us, and
Yeah.
that's not the same thing.
People,
Yeah, no, I don't find that at all.
for people listening,
Okay, Katie, you go.
that's all right. I was just going to say, for people listening, our catch-ups outside of this podcast are basically like the podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the reason why we wanted to start it, is because in our conversations, we'd sit there and it would be like a podcast episode, and we were like, why the hell have we not started one up yet?
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I actually forget we're recording sometimes, and then you'll say something, and I just sit there really relaxed, and I'm like, oh gosh, we are actually recording. It feels that normal to what it's normally like with us, but you know, I think it's lovely that that is the case with it.
Yeah, I always forget we're recording 100%. That's why when we're making mistakes and stuff, I'm like, oh, we're recording this. Okay, whoops. Just like being careful about what you're saying. But yeah, no, I think it's really nice. I think you get to see a side of all three of us. And I think it's nice that you get to get a side of inside our conversations that we'd have privately. So yeah, I hope you guys feel like that.
Yeah, of course. So an interesting point that I feel like it would be quite interesting to discuss is, do you think that men and women can just be friends? Because there's a lot of like, I don't know, bits of media that I've seen over the years, whether it's in a television program or a film, and like it always ends up in a relationship. What do you think about that? Do you think they can be friends without it ending romantically?
Yeah. Personally, I don't get that. I don't know. I think, you know, if you're attracted to someone, and yeah, I think you can be friends with guys easily. I just think I think you've just not got to get it in your head. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one, but because I don't see that. So yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think girls and boys can totally be friends. Like one of my best friends is Hannah's boyfriend, and he's nothing more than like a brother to me. And one of my best friends from home is a boy as well. And yeah, I just think it's ridiculous that people assume that boys and girls can't be friends without it ending romantically, because that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I agree on that one. And I think, you know, I think it's so nice to have a balance of different genders when it comes to friendship. Like even in high school, you know, having friends that are boys, sometimes they kind of rationalize things that you don't, in a way you don't ever think about, or you know, tell the truth in a way that you've never really heard it before, whether you want to hear it or not.
Yeah, having boyfriends is literally the most humbling experience, because they do not come back, they're not filtered, and they just say it how it is.
Yeah.
And you know what, I actually think that's so important to have. I think it's great to have a balance, and yeah, I think they don't always have to end romantically, you know. I think it is possible to have friends that are boys.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I don't yeah, like for us, I think it's nice to have, like you said, Hannah, about having just different genders really, and just being able to like bounce off each other, because I think guys are probably more laid back than girls, and they'll just say something straight up. And I like that. I like people saying things straight up to me. So yeah, I think if you have it in your head that things are going to end romantically, then that's not the way to be. But yeah, I've never had any guy friendships be like that. So yeah.
Do you both think you get on better with girls or boys?
It's an interesting one because I feel like there's a different kind of friendship with boys. Like one of my best friends is a guy who I lived with in first year, and again, like the conversations you have are so different to what I'd have with girls, but it's nice for that variation. But I wouldn't say I get on with one better than the other. I think it's just like it depends on the person. But I've never noticed a difference really in that sense. What about you guys?
Yeah, no. It's me, it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it matters. What about you, Kate? I can't, honestly, I've got nothing to comment.
I agree, but I do think I generally get on better with girls. I mean, if it's anything to go by, I have a lot more friends who are girls than friends who are boys, and I guess that isn't really a reflection of anything, but I love a good old gossip with my girls, and I feel like that's something that boy friendships kind of lack. I mean, it definitely does depend on the boy and the friendship, but yeah, there's just something about girl friendships that just make me so happy.
Yeah, I get what I think. Like when looking at it like that, I'm probably the same. That I have more girlfriends and guy friends, but yeah, I think it doesn't matter. I don't think it matter whatever gender you are. That it's just nice to. I think as long as you treat each other like right and you're all good with each other, that's the main thing, really.
Yeah.
So, what do you think are the most important traits for a friend to have?
Someone that's loyal, caring, and I can't think of another word. Just a great person, really. I know that's several different words, but just a great person.
What about you, Katie?
I'd probably go trustworthy, caring, and encouraging.
Yeah,
that's nice.
What about you?
I think I'd just say respectful, fun, and just nice to be around.
We both failed on that because neither of you said three words.
Positive. There we go. Positive. I don't know. Do you guys prefer a smaller or bigger friendship circle?
Oh, I'm going to take the lead with this one. 100% smaller, because in every big friendship group that I have seen, and I know a few people that have big friendship groups, and it just doesn't seem very fun. There always seems to be some kind of drama. Not everybody likes each other, and it just seems like more effort than what it's worth, really. So yeah, I definitely say small.
What about you, Olivia?
I like it small. I think it's like, because I just know from experience when all those guys are on like, Zoom and stuff out of obviously the podcast, and there's like several of us, it's a small group and it's just nice to have each other to bounce off. And bigger groups, you can't bounce off each other as much. And generally, like other people are kind of quieter or, because of the other people around. So I think it's nice to have a smaller group. What about you, Han? We're going around.
It's a bit tricky because I don't know. I've always been a little bit of a floater. Like, I kind of, I don't know if that's a term, but yeah, I've always kind of mixed with people from different sort of groups and not try to stay in one space for too long. But I do think it's nice having a small group of sort of really close friends. But I have always been one to enjoy quite a lot of people's like company because I always love being around people. So I actually have no idea with that answer, but I see like both sides to it. Sorry, I know that's not very helpful.
No, I know what you mean, is in like you have a small friendship group, but it's also good to have friends from other groups that you can then spend time with. I feel like I'm the same, but I'd never be part of a massive group of people in one space, because it'll always be the way that they then segregate off into smaller little groups within that big group anyway. So yeah, I just personally prefer smaller groups, I think.
I just like friendship. be honest. I was just going to say, I think it's so important, no matter if you're in your big group or small group. I think if you support each other and you encourage each other, that's the main thing, really.
That's a wrap. Thank you both so much for recording this, and it's been lovely to reminisce on our friendship together.
Yeah, we do it all the time anyway. It's nothing new to us, is it? We're always reminiscing.
Yeah, I definitely do. It's been lovely speaking to you both.
I was just going to say, I hope you've all enjoyed the episode, and thank you so much if you've made it this far in. We appreciate your support so much.
And yeah, we look forward to seeing you for the next episode. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy. I don't know what I'm enjoying at the minute. Right. Oh god.
Have a good. Thanks guys for listening, and yeah, I don't know. I don't even know either.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we have to leave that in. We have to. That's hilarious. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks guys. Sorry, such a shambles today.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.